Thank you, Ayushri, for the kind introduction, and thank you everyone for joining today. I hope all of you are keeping safe and healthy during these troubled times. Everybody can hear me, right? Someone
Yes,
can just
Pooja, we can hear you. We can hear you.
perfect, perfect. So I am quite excited about the session today. This is a challenge that every entrepreneur faces at any stage of their journey, whether you're looking to start, or you've already started, or you're looking to grow your business, which is, what should my business strategy be, and how do I align it with the market needs, right? It is especially relevant today because our life as we know it has been completely disrupted by this thing called COVID-19 or coronavirus. And, there has been a tectonic shift in pretty much everything we do. uh, the way we work, the way we learn, the way we go to school or offices, the way we interact with our families, the way we celebrate, the way we actually our routines. We used to get up in the morning, take a shower, get ready. Now, you different people could be taking a shower at different times, right? So it has really had widespread impact on how we conduct our lives, and needless to say, that impacts how we run our businesses. And so, pretty much, I can't think of any business, any startup that has been untouched with this. There are some organizations, startups, industries which have benefited from it, a small percentage. Some industries like health and education, while most of the companies they are reeling under it. I mean, industries like transport, hospitality, auto manufacturing, they are really, really struggling,
Pooja, just
right? So,
interrupting you 1 second here. Can I please request all the participants to mute their videos, please? Videos and audio so that we don't have any disturbances in the session. Thank you. Thank you, Pooja.
so our way of life has changed. Businesses need to change along with it, and and who knows, whether it's short term, long term. When the dust settles, are we going to go back to previous habits? Are we going to settle to a new normal? Will we have a completely different way of living? Different people have different perspectives. We'll find out. uh, so when Ayushri and Maina, who also supports CWE and is an entrepreneur, we were discussing as to what will be relevant for the community of women entrepreneurs who are setting up their businesses, growing their businesses in this environment. We realized, a topic like this would be very meaningful. So while every business is unique in its way and is managing this changed environment, this disrupted environment in their own special way. Their unique markets, their localized markets have changed, customer needs have changed. What what I attempted to do was look at a framework that we can use in order to make sense of this blurry concept called business aligning business strategy with market needs. So what I'll do is spend about half an hour talking about a concept called, I'll share my screen now. Concept called product market fit. And, for anyone who's thinking, well, I'd registered for this alignment of business strategy with market needs. Is this the right webinar? This is the right webinar. You are in the right place. But this is a framework that we can use to understand this concept and make it a little more concrete. So I thought I'll spend about half an hour talking about it, and then uh, you know take some questions on how do we specifically apply it to our COVID-19 situation and what it means in the current context. And at that point, if you, through the presentation also, if you happen to have any questions, it triggers any thoughts and comments for you, please put it in the chat box, and I'll try and take breaks where we can address some of those as we go along. So, product market fit is a concept that is a phrase actually that is coined by Mark Andreessen, who is the founder, legendary founder of Netscape, which was kind of the pioneer in web browser technology. They were the first to get to market. They got killed by Microsoft, and so he coined this term called product market fit, which is used very widely by tech startups in the Silicon Valley, and is now being adopted by other industries and sectors as well. But as we go through the presentation, I will continue to give examples from my journey as an entrepreneur and the company that I ran to try and make it more real and practical rather than conceptual. So while Ayushri kind of gave a quick gave an intro, I'll just tell you briefly about myself. I of course am an engineer, but I spent my entire career in product strategy and marketing. I worked with companies like Adobe, where I managed the product marketing team for Acrobat. My first startup was in the Silicon Valley. It was an enterprise software startup that went under in the downturn of 2001. Some of you might be too young to know that downturn, but that was a big downturn that happened and killed many companies. I was more fortunate with my second startup, which was called IntelliThoughts, and this was in the space of early years education. And I built the company over 10 years and sold it to Clay about 2 years ago. So you'll see a lot of examples coming from IntelliThoughts and Clay and the distinction between the two. So the puzzle, right? The puzzle of what is my product and what is the market. When you look at the product, okay, what problem does your product solve? A very simple question, but I find a lot of entrepreneurs find it very hard to answer that question in a short, succinct way. Even if you do, what problem does my product solve? And the other question on the other side is, what problem does the customer face? So these are two separate things, and when they both come together is when magic happens, right? So, sorry, some reason this is stuck. Give me just 1 second. It's stuck. I'll see if I can.
Yes, sure, Pooja. Can I please request all the participants to mute their videos, please? And the audios too. So just to ensure we face no bandwidth issues with Pooja's presentation.
Okay, let us see. Yeah. Hopefully it will work now. So I'll try not to present because that can just cause it to be slow. So when both of these come together, which is the problem that your product is solving and the problem that the customer is facing, they both align, you have a nice fit, and that is the product market fit that we talk about. Now, my question to you is, so if you make something that people want or need, is that enough? What do you think? You can put it in the chat box. Do you think you've accomplished product market fit um, if you have created a product which customers want? Great, Seema. Yes, that price is one thing. Second, and is there anything else? Cool. We'll carry on. You can answer here. Uh, so I'll make a detour to IntelliTots. This was in 2007. I had come back from the US. I was still working with Adobe. I was in Adobe US and then transferred to Adobe India. So I was working in Noida. My children were 1 and 3.5 at that time. So when I transitioned, I began to, and with my children happening, I began to see all sorts of kind of, questions around child development, how they learn, how are the preschools and the daycare supporting them through the journey. So like any kind of, what should I say, invested parent, I was thinking a lot about it. And surprisingly, when I moved to Gurgaon, I actually did not find that level of understanding of early years, the need for early years education in the preschool. So I thought, interesting, that seems very interesting. There is definitely a gap in the market. So, the market doesn't have this whole understanding of what early years education is. So a broad brush kind of thinking. On the product side, yes, it would be interesting to create something in early years education. What should it be? So because I had experienced classes like Gymboree, etc. in the US, and I thought, well, those are fun classes. And there were no programs for children below 3 years of age or 2.5 years of age. So everything kind of started at preschool level. So I thought, why not look at that, the space between 6 months to 3 years? And we said, okay, parent-infant program for a 6-year-old, 6-month-old, parents will come along with their child. We spoke to a few friends who had children in the same age group. They said, yeah, wonderful, great, makes sense. So we launched it. To the problem that we were trying to solve with our product, the product was solving the problem of, mothers are fairly lonely at that time when they have their young children and infants. They've taken a maternity break. They are busy changing diapers. So this kind of allows them a trip outside. This also allows them to engage with their child in a very meaningful, stimulating, intellectual way versus a caregiven way, which is normally happens during the course of the day. So wonderful. We launched this product. There is takeoff. It's an expensive service. We have a set of parents who are extremely interested, and we get off the ground. Now, as we start to expand beyond this, we realize that, look, there is a set of parents who want this, but then very few parents are able to find the time, mothers especially, are able to find the time to actually come out with the child and spend time with the child during these 2 hours. A lot of our parents were asking us, Pooja, can you actually keep the child? While, so what that does is gives us a break for three hours at least. And so we realized, okay, what the problem the customer is facing is they need time off, not more time with the child. So we said, okay, let's do preschool. We did preschool. That did very well. We expanded to one more center, and that was waitlisted. We opened the third center. And as we started to expand the market there, again, what we started to see was parents saying, Pooja, we like this preschool. It's wonderful. I like your teachers, all of that. But look, I have to go to work. I can't be coming in at 12:30 to pick up my child. So I would rather drop my child at 8:30 and pick my child at 6 o'clock on my way back from work. And that's daycare, right? And we were not interested actually in offering daycare. That's not the product we wanted. But as the market started to evolve, as our centers started to grow, we realized that 60% of the demand was coming for daycare. That's what parents wanted, full day care, along with all of the stimulation and intellectual stimulation that IntelliThoughts programs were providing. So we started moving in that direction. Now, I tell this story to make 2 points. Just like Seema said, making something people want or need is not enough for a product market fit. You do need for it to be at a price where it makes sense for you, right? You can offer a helicopter service for delivery, and there'll be a lot of people who will actually use that service, but they will not be willing to pay for it. So that doesn't make sense, right? So absolutely, price is a very critical part. There are 2 other critical parts, which is this notion, which might be evident to you now from this example, is that this idea of product market fit, this idea of aligning your business with market needs, continues to evolve as your business grows and changes shape. Right? So it is not something that you have accomplished and then you can sit on your laurels and say, okay, now I'm just going to rake it in. As you go to the next level of growth, there are new sets of challenges that you'll see, new sets of tweaks that you will have to make as you grow to the next level. And second point I want to make has to do with your aspiration as an entrepreneur. It is very important to know what your aspiration is. If my aspiration was to run a class in my home with 20 families, I had accomplished product market fit. It was a profitable business. It was waitlisted. I was solving a problem that customers face, and my product fit that need. Voila. However, if my aspiration was, no, I wanted it to be a bigger business. I wanted to be a 1 crore business and not a 1 lakh business. So in that case now I said, okay, I need to become a preschool. I need to go. So if you look at the pyramid of customers, we were first catering to just the top of the pyramid. And then we went to the next set of pyramid. And then with daycare, we went to the next set of pyramid. So your aspiration also plays a big role in what you mean by product market fit. And this is something, the aspiration part is something that is missed a lot in the narratives that you will hear and in the books that you will read on product market fit. Most of the time, it is a very objective description of what your business does and what market it serves. But there is also this very important person in the middle who's the founder or a co-founder or a co-founding team whose aspirations matter a lot. I'll stop here for just half a second to see if anyone has any questions, any comments, and then we can move on.
Any questions, anyone, for Pooja? You can put it on the chat box or can unmute yourself and tell her directly. Let's move ahead, Pooja. We'll take all the questions at the
Towards
end.
the end. That's fine. Great. So what is product market fit? Based on what we've discussed so far, it's a large enough customer base. A large enough customer base is willing to pay enough for the value you are providing. and you are able to provide that product slash service at a reasonable margin or realize equivalent value. So I'll just break it up a little bit. Large enough customer base. Again, there is no right number that will give you the answer. It has to work for you and your stage of business. What is that size of market look like, right? Willing to pay enough for the value you are providing. Again, it is up to you as an entrepreneur to say this much is enough for me or this much is enough for me. And second part of it is, if you are able to provide that product or service at a reasonable margin, which is the price that a customer pays, which Seema pointed out, or realize equivalent value. You know of just hundreds of startups that are actually not making any margin and are running at actually a loss, but they are realizing equivalent value in terms of building the value of their startup, they might be, Byju's might be making, no, Byju's is wrong, Oyo might be making significant losses right now, but their value is in billions of dollars. So yes, you're not making a margin, but you're creating value. And at some point, you're going to realize that value. So that is product market fit. Another way it has been described is that happens when your customers start selling for you. So when you are selling yourself, you are investing heavily in marketing, building your messaging, getting your story out there. But then it reaches a point when your customers start to say that, you are looking for a preschool, you should definitely consider Intellitalks. And that's when you know, okay, product market fit has happened, right? When we started out with the parent-infant program, the biggest question we'd get was, तुम 6 महीने के बच्चे को क्या सिखाओगे? तुम 6 महीने के बच्चे को क्या पढ़ाओगे? And while I never got into it with most people, the value proposition was not teaching. The value proposition of our product was an experience, one for the parent, that they got to spend high quality time with their child, learn things about child development, which in our nuclear families, it is hard to gain, and socialize with other like-minded parents. And the value proposition for the child was brain development happens at, pretty much 85-90% brain development happens in the first 6 years and the fastest in the first 3 years. So the right kind of stimulation is actually great for a child, and it's very critical for a child. So if they get the right kind of stimulation, that's fantastic. And since we were the only game in town, we reached a point where people started to say, oh, parent-toddler program, go to Intellitalks. Having said that, the market was very small. So once again, I skip the preschool part, go to the daycare part. The daycare part, we had 5 centers in Gurgaon, and maternity benefits bill happened, which said that every company with more than 50 employees needed to have a tie-up with a daycare. So we're sitting here with 5 centers, and suddenly from across India, we begin to get calls from large companies like Oracle and Accenture saying, guys, will you develop daycares for us, or will you help us create a daycare network across India for our employees, because it is a compliance requirement. And I was scratching my head at that point and thinking, wow, we're a small player sitting here, and why are these large companies approaching us? But clearly, the product market fit had happened at that point. And that is the point we needed capital to scale it up. We did not. That is a different matter and story for another webinar. But the fact that people started to reach out to us versus us trying to bang doors, and we had done 6 years of that, banging doors, telling people, explaining them why they should have a daycare. Our first deal that happened with a corporate, it took us 2 years to close that deal, because we went through, kind of cycles and cycles and cycles of discussion to explain them why a daycare made sense and how we would do it. And we didn't make enough margin on it. But once that happened, 3 other daycares said, oh, a big name hospital has already done it, then we can look at the same model. So the product, when a customer starts selling for you, you can be sure that a product market fit has happened. Now, uh, Mark Andreessen gives actually a very fuzzy definition where he says you can always feel it when product market fit isn't happening or is happening. And I can vouch for it. And at that time, I did not have an understanding of this framework. I didn't know the vocabulary. But as I'm saying, I was scratching my head and saying, suddenly what shifted? Where, we've transitioned from banging doors and convincing and writing emails to these players to now people actually reaching out to us and saying, can you do this for us? So you can actually make out when that shift happens. So the sign of a product market fit is when product market fit does not happen, customers aren't quite getting the value out of the product, or word of mouth isn't spreading, or usage isn't growing fast enough. Press reviews are kind of sales cycles take too long. Lots of deals never close. They're just in the pipeline. You go through these, and in the initial stages, that just happens. I mean, with everything I have done, I felt like the first 2-3 years, you are just trying to make it work and see what story will click, what product will click, what method of reaching out to the customer will click. And when product market fit happens, customers are buying the product just as fast as you can make it. Money from customers is piling up. You are hiring sales and customer support staff as fast as you can. Reporters are calling you because they've heard about your product and they want to talk to you about it. So these are kind of specific signs. So you know whether you are pre-product market fit or post-product market fit. And I'll again give you another very simple framework. Some of you who have been building companies already are probably familiar with it. I know there are a few people I work with and mentor who have seen me use this framework quite a bit. So when we look at customer adoption or go to market for any product or service, just this simple framework I use a lot, which is go from awareness to interest to trial, to purchase, to advocacy, which is, I might not know the name of Vienna Systems. Who is Vienna Systems? But then the company begins to put out its stories. I begin to see it at 5 different places, and I say, Vienna Systems, I've heard about that. Yeah, they do this. Okay. But then, if it meets my requirements or solves any of my problems, then I'm like, they said digital marketing. Let me go look at them. And that's interest. I'll click on one of their ads, or I'll attend one of their webinars, or I will just open their email and see, or sign up for their newsletter. And so that's interest. And then I say, okay, this seems interesting. Let me at least talk to the salesperson there and try out their product. And then you purchase, and then you get to, and this advocacy part is something that a lot of people forget, which is once you've made the sale, now you want to convert your customer into an advocate, that they go out and sell for you. That is very, very important. And a lot of us forget this important step. So when you are pre-product market fit, so again, I'll stop and ask you, where would you focus on if you are pre-product market fit?
We do have
Awareness, Mamta, yes. Okay, so awareness is one. And you are kind of on the right track, Mamta. I would say that in the early stages, what you would, let's see, customer feedback. Okay, yeah. So what you will focus on, I'll start sharing again. refining your product mix. Okay. So if it's pre-product market fit, you focus here on interest and trial. Awareness also somewhat. You are kind of refining your story, refining your product. You want to generate interest, continuously get feedback from customers, refine your product, get them to trial. But a lot of your thrust ends up being in interest and trial. And once you get product market fit, then your focus becomes shifts to more purchase and advocacy, which is because there are actually parents lining up to sign up for your preschool and for your daycare. You want to make sure that that experience is fantastic, that the purchase experience is fantastic, that they become advocates for you, that they tell five other parents that daycare you have to go to intelligence. So that requires a set of processes, a set of thinking, a set of kind of focus on that part. So that's what tends to happen. And if you see yourself right now still refining your story, you are pre-product market fit. And there are some questions that I saw, which is when is the time for to get to fit, and does it vary by markets? We'll get to this. So if you are pre-product market fit, then you have the opportunity. So what you have to do is learn fast, be agile, and there are multiple frameworks for it, right? There's the lean startup framework that you collect data, you learn from it, you implement it, iterate the product, and as again someone pointed out there, which is shift your product mix. So learn fast, fail fast, and pivot if required to new markets, new customers, new problems. While you are small, you are able to shift your resources, your product strategy, and go in a slightly different direction. Now, here again, I'll stop once and ask you, what do you mean by pivot? Because I see a lot of entrepreneurs actually misunderstanding the term pivot. And if you want, actually, I'm okay if anyone wants to switch on the camera and talk about it. Change, solution, your Pratiksha, modifier offering. Mamta, do you want to elaborate on that? Do you want to switch on your camera and describe what it might be?
Yes, Mamta, you can come on video and just unmute your video and audio and
Hi. I can't switch on the video.
Sure.
Yeah. So modifying I had to pivot my offering. Like mine was when I started off, it was learning a Jiffy DIY class for school segments alone, and which was not taking off. So over the years, like for almost 2 years, I pivoted it in a way, like added more offerings to that. Like I took the same thing to corporates as workshops, which clicked just before
Yeah.
COVID. And I also took the same offering as to build merchandise that I can sell. And these were the plans just before COVID had happened. I was tying up with the SNG who will churn out products of those sort,
Right.
whatever I was teaching. So training the kids with. So that is pivot,
Wonderful.
right?
Wonderful. So I will just absolutely. So what you did, Mapta, was you took your existing product and said, can I modify it somewhat to meet the needs of another market? So something stayed the same, which is your product stayed the same with a little bit of modification. So when we talk about pivoting, this comes from a physics concept, which is you pivot something in the ground, and then you can shift like this. You can go in different directions, but one end of your stick stays held in the ground. Now, when you say change, you could shift the whole thing. You can start another new business. It has no relation to this current one. But when we say pivot, what it means is that one foot is stuck here, and then you are either going here or here or here. So you don't want to change everything at the same time. You are building a new business. So you can use the same team to say, oh, can I modify my product offering? Or you can take the same product and say, can I modify the market? Or you can take the same market and say, can I add another product to the same market, because this market understands me and I know the customers here. I understand their needs. So something stays the same, not everything changes. So one foot has to be here. So pivot if required to new markets, new customers, new problems, and pre-product market fit. That's what you will need to do in order to reach that point. Now, if you're post product market fit, then what you need to do, where your money, the investment that you are making is less than the money that's coming in, you're profitable, you're doing well, then what you have to do is optimize for growth and scale. Then you have to say, okay, I have now found this fit. Now, how do I grow it? So that's where the story of IntelliTot stopped. Whereas, we found the product market fit. Customers were lining up to buy it. But then in order to grow it from a regional player, which was Delhi NCR, to an India-wide player, we needed capital investment. Now, do I want to take that capital investment, and do I want to make that next journey? It is a founder, promoter aspiration. And as co-founders, we decided, no, we did not want to. We wanted to realize the value we had created and do that same stuff that we wanted to do along with the larger player. And therefore, we decided to sell to Clay, which was a much larger player. And Clay had already gotten their product market fit. So once we started working with Clay, we realized, corporates were lining up to say, can you please, they had 250 marquee customers who Clay was providing daycare for. And the focus exactly was on quality of service, making sure that we had account managers to service all of these corporate clients. So once you've accomplished product market fit, you need to optimize for growth and scale, but you've already created significant value up to that time for your shareholders. Second is build moats around the growth business. So what happens is, once you begin to grow, you have shown the path to a lot of other players that this is possible, that this market needs this, and this is the product that works in this market. So there will be a lot of players who will come into the market with different kinds of competencies. It could be capital, it could be innovation, it could be low price, same value at low price. So what you need to do at that point is build a moat around your growth business to keep the competitors out as much as you can. And lastly, you need to start that process again of investing in a couple new ideas, because if you don't, essentially at some point there will be competition. This business is going to plateau and will not grow. Competition will begin to eat into your business, and then the downhill curve will start. But as you begin to grow and build moat around your growth business, you need to invest in new ideas so that the company as a whole can continue to grow. So that kind of is a high level overview of how to think about product market fit, how to think about aligning your business strategy to the market needs. And now we jump to this big kahuna, which is COVID-19, which has just kind of gotten us all to throw all frameworks out of the window, right? So at this point now, I will stop. I think we have about 18 minutes into the session, left in the session. And now I'll open it up for questions, comments, and we can try and take a few specific case studies and see what can be done and what makes sense in order to align your business strategy with your market.
Thanks, Pooja. So we do have some questions on the chat box, Pooja. Let's start with those. And I request the participant asking the question to please come on video, if that's okay. So this question is from Shivaranjani R. What is the healthy balance between efforts we put in towards tweaks of an existing product versus developing a new product?
Okay. I can't see this, Shivranjini. What is the healthy balance? Yeah. Yeah, Shivranji, could you elaborate on the kind of product you have?
Shivaranjani, can I please request you to elaborate on your question so that Pooja can help you with the answer?
It's fine. So I'll try and answer this again in the context of this example that we have continued to. So, so when you think of Intellitos, where I talked about 3 different products, right? As we transitioned from preschool to daycare, preschool, we were, there were other competitors coming in. We were saying, okay, brain targeted teaching, neuroscience based teaching, and pretty much there were people who would just copy verbatim what we were putting in there onto their sites and say, we offer the same thing, right? And so yes, we continue to tweak our preschool offering. So we said neuroscience, people said neuroscience, and then we went ahead and started doing some research with Johns Hopkins, which was not possible for everyone to do, and got a more credible brand name into the system. So that's a tweak that we did. But when a daycare was a completely different offering, what it meant is that we need space for 10 hours instead of 5 hours. We will need staff. We will need training requirements. That meant investment. That meant investment of resources, training resources, hiring people, and so one of the biggest thing will be how much are you willing to invest in developing a new product. It is expensive and it is risky. So if is very high and you know very well that yes, there are buyers for this product, you would want to do that. Otherwise, what you want to do, you make incremental efforts to your existing product and see if it works. The other, in the context of product market fit, if you've already accomplished product market fit for one product which is selling, that gives you a lot more confidence to say, okay, at least this one is in order, this one will support my company while I invest in developing a new product. But while you've not been able to do it with one product and you go ahead and start investing in another product, not advisable. Take any other brand as well, say Paperboat, right? Paperboat came in 6 years ago, nobody knew about them, but they kind of went in with the whole nostalgia-based messaging where, Nani ke baag mein aam ka juice or something like that, right? Amras. And they named it like that. And then for a long period of time, they continued to invest only in Amras, which was the best product in the market. And because they were taking on the Cokes and the Pepsis and the real juices and the Tropicanas of the world. And even So they couldn't afford to get their eye off the ball on that main product. That was their Trojan horse into this market. And once that got established, once they had gone through the whole cycle with them, they were advocates. Oh, mango juice, I only want Amras. So once they'd gone with the whole cycle, then you can say, okay, let's try an anaras or let's try whatever khatta meetha. So that's one way. Two ways actually. One is the investment required, and second is at what stage of development and product market fit you are with your product portfolio.
Thanks, Pooja. Shivaranjani can't hear you actually, but she's on a low network region. So she said apologizes for not being able to come on audio
Sure,
or video.
sure,
Yeah.
no problem.
Next question is from Pratiksha. Pratiksha requests you to come on video. So the first question was, does time to product market fit vary for different markets? There are some follow-up questions she has too. The trial step in customer acquisition, can it be free? Do they have to make money for it to be a valid trial? What if people love your product but are not paying yet?
Yeah. Hi,
Yeah, I, so I don't know if my question was clear enough. The thing is, for the service or product that I have introduced, it turns out that people love it, but they're not ready to pay for it yet. So I'm considering at this point pivoting to a slightly different kind of a solution. And I was wondering if is it that I've not tried enough to make people, undergo the trial for my product by offering it for free even longer, or is it not a valid trial because people are already not paying for it? Hence, they're not putting their money where their mouth is. So, yeah.
So Pratiksha, I've actually seen a demo of your product and seen your business plan at CWE, so I can tell you a little bit in more detail about your business. I think one of the things to consider, two things to consider. One is the market environment, that what other kinds of options are available to the customer.
Mhm.
So right now, you really have to, that anywhere you look, there are options available for online courses, mentoring, and it's pretty much it goes the whole spectrum. So,
Mhm.
have you identified that gap, that
Mhm.
gap of unmet need? It's
Mhm.
possibly that you have not. And
Mhm.
the truth is that there are two aspects in this. One is that the whole market transition happening for a very
Mhm.
long period, people were not comfortable paying for knowledge, paying for
Mhm.
online courses. They were used to free because Coursera and edX were offering all of this for free. So you always feel like, when I have it available for free, why should I pay for this, right?
Mhm.
So now gradually there are some models that are emerging, where people have begun to pay for it, very very limited models. But if you
Mhm.
look at something like a Udemy, they went from 3,000 rupees per course to 800 rupees per course to now it's like 400 rupees a course, right? So I think one of the things to consider is, what is it that you uh, are competing for attention from the
Mhm.
customer's perspective, from a customer's need perspective. Now
Mhm.
when you look at, suppose, introducing a chai offering, that I want
Mhm.
to set up a chai studio, a chai cafe, right? uh, you are not only competing with the Costa Coffee and the barista and the Starbucks, you're also competing with Coke and Pepsi. And
Mhm.
Coke famously said that, look, my biggest competition is water. I want people to drink
Mhm.
Coke when they are thirsty and not water, right? So I would say that is so in because in despite the fact that you've given so many trials and it is not converted, that means that you've still not found your niche of unmet needs. So you
Okay.
need to at least get one hook somewhere for which
Mhm.
people are willing to pay for,
Mhm.
and grow from there.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Pooja. The next question is from Mamta Jain. This is for you in relation to your startup. How much did you spend in research proportion wise, not the numbers? would like to get in touch for research-oriented queries, Mamta, sure, we will. Pooja is a mentor with us, so we'll do the connect. Please do connect to me after the session. Did you create any IP? How did you handle the competition?
Yeah. So yeah, long question. I'll give you some context on it, Mamta. We were bootstrapped. So it was my co-founder and I, and both of us basically invested some upfront capital. So we didn't have deep pockets. We didn't raise capital, and that defined our journey also and the decisions that we made. So we could not afford to spend significant amounts in research because it was not as if we could do market surveys. But I'll tell you the kind of proxies we used when we said, okay, who is our customer? What we would do is define and say, we want people coming from, okay, these are the top 100 apartment complexes in Gurgaon. And how do you do top 100 apartment complexes? What are the rentals? What are the average rentals in those? So those are our target market, and we want 90% of the parents from those complexes coming to us. And what is important to those? They all share a certain kind of need. They want a certain quality. Their paying capacity is at a certain level. Their family dynamics is at a certain level. Their aspirations are at a certain level. So we use proxies like that, and many conversations. It helped that our children were in that same age group. So we had a large circle of people, but over a period of time, as we spent time in the industry, there were just a lot of people who we could tap into to get our questions answered. So we never did, like, an IMRB kind of a research. I'd be happy to help. I'll provide my email address. In fact, one of the things that I am planning to do is available every Saturday for any entrepreneurs who have any questions, so that I can spend more time. And if you're interested in that, just send me a message, and I'll send you a link when as and when I'm able to get it off the ground. But essentially, the objective for me is to be able to support entrepreneurs like you answer questions as you're getting off the ground. How did you handle competition? So in terms of competition, I'd say, as I said, parent-infant program, these are always double-edged swords, right? So when we entered the market, there was no competition. There was nobody offering that. But then what it also means is that market didn't understand the offering. So you have to spend a lot of time on market education. Every second person would ask us, okay, what will you teach to a 6-month-old baby? So we invested a lot of time developing the market and becoming the brand in that market. And once we became the brand, there were a lot of other people who tried to do it. It was hard for them to do it, but they tried to do it because they thought, oh, it worked for them, it should work for us. But that's why I said, once you have got this in one, we had by then moved to preschool. So and a preschool with a difference. So for us, I think we handled competition through innovation and staying 2 steps ahead, just continuously having an understanding of, okay, what is it where is the market headed, and coming up with an innovative product which did not exist in the market at that time.
Thanks, Pooja. We have another question, and this would be the last question for today. That's from Sindhuja from Playdo Kids. And Sindhuja, she's having some network issue, so she won't be able to come on video. So this is regarding to the services, the free services she's offering. So she wants to know that so she started offering in your free services initially, but now when she's trying to charge the customers, they do not feel like paying. So she wants to know, is it because first the services were for free and suddenly they started charging? what is the position that she should, how should she position her product in this respect? Like, should the services be charged from the beginning, or what is the timeline when this free thing should be changed into a charged product? Like, what is the approach that she
Yeah.
can?
So I would say, Sindhuja, that is always a tricky situation. Once the customer gets used to a free product, they are very, very reluctant to pay for it. They will only pay for it when they can't find any other substitute. And it takes a lot of effort, shift in the industry dynamics for this to change. So, as I was giving an example to Pratiksha, Coursera and edX were offering all these services for free. And you could do a full course from a Harvard professor for free for a very long time, literally. And I have done a lot of courses there for almost 6-7 years. And because they had deep pockets, they could afford to do it. Uh, but but it is very hard to switch from an unpaid product to a paid product. We are seeing the same dynamics in the media industry right now, right? We all know the dangers of providing our information and attention to Facebook, but we are all very loath to pay for news. So yes, there are some media publications that have come out which are paid, publications like the Ken, Morning Star, and they are subscription based, and some people are beginning to pay for it. But the large masses, it will take a long time to transition. So it's a tough thing to get a customer to move from free to paid. And the same thing holds true in pricing as well. One of the things that is by and large used, right, is if you start with very low pricing, it becomes very hard to increase the price later on. Because what you do is, in a pyramid, you are attracting this set of customer. Now their product is appropriate for the set of customer in the middle of the pyramid. Now the customer that's on just above them would not want to come to your product, because so they have the paying capacity, but they will not want your product, because customer is buying for variety of reasons, be it the brand, so there are softer reasons beyond just function. So it becomes very hard to increase your pricing once you have lowered it. And therefore, a better strategy is also always to introduce a product at a particular price and offer some discounts which are time bound, rather than go with a low pricing and hope to increase it later.
Thanks, Pooja. Sindhuja, I hope that answers your question. Pooja has already spoken about this a little while answering Pratiksha's question. Thank you, Pooja. On that note, we come to end of today's webinar. And thank you very much. This was a very insightful session, and I'm sure all the participants has benefited a lot from it. We would obviously, like I already said, Pooja is a mentor with our platform. So please do connect to us, and we can connect you to Pooja. And she has been an integral part of incubator to supporting all our wonderful women entrepreneurs. So the recording of this session would be available on our YouTube channel. So please subscribe to the channel. Do follow us on all our social media platforms to stay updated with our next webinars and other offerings. We have a very interesting webinar next Friday that is actually celebrating one of CWE's success stories and celebrating the journey of one of our entrepreneurs, Janani from Biomoneta, and talking about her funding story. How has she secured funding, and her personal story in achieving the success that she has today. So please do join us. We have another mentor, Revati Ashok, who would be on the panel on the 3rd of July. And we would look forward to having you all. We would send you all the details on an email after this webinar, along with also the membership details on how can you become a part of this platform. We have two memberships to select from. gold and platinum membership. And you can write to us at membership@cwe.org.in to know more. I would also send you a feedback form after the session. We are also trying to develop more focused workshops with mentors like Pooja, and so that you can get more concrete takeaways into close, smaller groups. So please do send us your feedback, which would help us to prepare for these workshops. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Pooja. Thank you for taking out this time to help all our entrepreneurs. Can I please quickly request all of you to come on the video so that we can quickly take a photo along with Pooja?